Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general monthly read for the sign of Aries, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of July. I hope you are well. I'm using the Llewellyn Tarot for you today. It's actually the second time I started this reading. I tried to do it and the cauldron got all a bit excited and started blowing all the smoke in here, and it was so bad it couldn't actually see me at all. So I waited for it to stop and then started again. There's no breeze outside, so it's not pulling the smoke out the window like it usually would. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's get 3 cards for Aries for July, this recent past. We have the High Priestess in your recent past. In your current energy, we have the 2 of Cups. And what's coming towards Aries, please? Thank you. We have the 4 of Pentacles. Interesting. So we have the 8 of Wands at the bottom of the deck, which is sometimes a card that talks about communication, like particularly two-way communication. You know, we're talking about, you know, intense conversations there, but it can also talk about momentum. We'll wait and see which way around it occurs. But we also have the Judgment card sat behind it, and that is quite interesting because it can talk about old situations or perhaps, you know, old connections resurfacing, but it can also talk about having judgment, good judgment over a situation, you know, reflecting back on something to get a better perspective of it and therefore kind of rewrite your experience in the present. I think that's probably the best way to put it. You know, perception is a wonderful thing, and perspective also is wonderful, you know, because everything is relative. Shut that window. Everything is relative, and so you might have felt like, you know, there was one situation that really did you down, but, you know, with age and experience, you can sort of take a more equivocal view of it and go, well, you know, I contributed somewhat to that too, and I can see how they were kind of just young and you know, coming from a place of pain, or, you know, that's just an example. But looking back on that, because you are, in a sense, editing the experience, because you're going back and you're looking at it with different eyes and you're seeing it more clearly, it does feed into your present and then, you know, onto your future. Anyway, we will pull some clarifiers and we'll see. We're going to go with a wild unknown. We'll see why these cards are here. What about the High Priestess, please? Thank you. We have the Knight of Wands. No, what? Knight of Pentacles, right there. How about the High Priestess, please? And the 7 of Swords. We've got 2 of Cups. We have the Knight of Cups. We have the 3 of Wands and the Hierophant. That's an interesting set of cards. Tell me about the 4 of Pentacles, please. Ooh. Wow, 4 came out there. The Fool, the 8 of Pentacles, the 7 of Pentacles, and the Temperance card. This feels like quite a nuanced reading for you, Aries, which is quite interesting. We have the Mother of Wands at the bottom of the deck, which is the card of Aries. And right behind it, we have the Moon and the 6 of Wands. So there's definitely a dive into the subconscious, the non-conscious, certainly the bits of your mind that you have not spent that much time in contact with, implied here by this. But the one that has worked very well for you with the 6 of Wands behind it, you know, it's like you had a task. It's like the universe set you a task. You know, get in touch with this bit of you inside of you. Have a look at it, ways at which you could reframe this, look at ways in which you could pull some experience and some wisdom out of these old situations. And it seems to me that you've done it, Aries, which is good. So, like I said, that first card is the High Priestess. she is the keeper of the wisdom, right? She's effectively a channel. She allows things to run through her. We're talking about that kind of deep feminine wisdom, and it doesn't matter if you're male or female, like we all have both sets of energies present within us. But that sense of connection and knowing and, you know, intuition and all that sort of thing comes very much through the female energy, the feminine energy. And it's number 2. Which means it speaks specifically to that internal mechanisms rather than what's going on outside of you. I only bring that up because the next card in your main card is also number 2. And so what we have got here is a suggestion that what you have been going through, I feel like I need to say through recently, rather than necessarily reacting to what is going on outside of you, feels more like it's an examination of your reactions internally and looking to see what it is that they mean. Like, we've had the Moon, we now have the High Priestess. These are both cards about rather than the Aries experience of going outside of yourself, it's about kind of pulling things in and being internal about these things. You know, where are my motivations? Why have I done this particular way? Why have people reacted to me this kind of way? You know, what have I put out there that has caused that kind of reaction to come back? You know, self-examination. And it seems to have been for a point. Well, obviously it's always for a point, but we've got the Son of Pentacles here, which is the Knight of Pentacles. It's Virgo energy, and it's for me the court hierarchy of the Pentacles suit deals very much with differing levels of knowing the value of something, discovering the value of something, you know, putting that front and foremost and walking out into the world with it, you know, that sort of thing. It's different when we get to the King of Pentacles. But the Sun, as it is here, the Son of Pentacles, the Knight, is going from a place of having discovered the value of something and then kind of reframing the way that you think about things, the way that you act, the way that you perceive things, in order to move to this healthy place of Queen of Pentacles energy, where you put yourself first, not in a selfish way, but in a, you know, in a healthy way. And you're going within. Now, like I've spoken before, like, you know, in the West where we read left to right, when you've got things down on a table, there's this kind of perception of time that is relatively linear, and it runs left to right. And that's why my cards go from recent past to, you know, what is coming towards you. Here is that linear kind of thinking here. But interestingly, this Son of Pentacles, as he sat on my table, is pointing towards the past. Right there. It is also a much slower energy than one that we would usually associate with Aries. It is about that, you know, as it looks like that. Going to the left, a gentle exploration of one's inner space to find the things of value. And like I said, like I was saying before, I even started pulling any cards. I can't even remember where the point was. I got to that, maybe the Mother of Wands and the Moon. Kind of going within and looking for stuff, but it's about your personal value, right? Now I say this because Aries particularly has been flagging up for me recently for this, for the movement, right? Always going forwards, always pointing the direction and then zooming off, you know, starting things very, very strongly, running often in a similar way to Sagittarius, except that, and that will never go away, because that's a predisposition that you have, and it's a skill, actually, is what you have. But sometimes there is heading off into the unknown for the unknown's sake, because you are trying to put distance between you and something that is difficult in the past, right? And what we're seeing here is you're kind of turning around and going, I don't actually have to run off in that direction. Maybe there is some gold in previous experiences. Maybe this is time to go back and look at these things. Remember that we are still, at the point of recording this, we are still very much in Mercury retrograde. It doesn't station until the 22nd, and then we have a 2-week kind of cool down period where it's still, the shadow of it is still in effect, but obviously on the wane. It's funny how the retrograde energy seems to have, it actually seemed to have gone like that, rather than going direct, here I am, and then staying consistent. It seems to have been building, so the end of the retrograde experience is actually the most intense bit of it. But we've got this Seven of Swords here, and it suggests to me that there are things in you that you did not expect to find there. You know, the Seven of Swords is a card sometimes of deception, but sometimes it can be of risk-taking. And certainly there would feel like an element of a risk going within for you, because it's not necessarily a comfortable place. But this deception interpretation could be the ways that you've deceived yourself about why you are the way you are, why you go the way you go, why you don't stand still, why you can't stand still. You know, what your own personal value is, what your, you know, what your level of self-confidence and self-esteem really is, rather than what you tell yourself that it is, because you're actually really quite sensitive as a sign, but it doesn't suit the way that you like to do things. And so often when something is touching a sensitive part of you, the urge is to run rather than to turn around and go, oh, that's actually irritating me, well, can we pluck that out of the root? It's like, well, I'll just scamper away from it, it'll be fine, you know. There's turning around and going back within. It feels very cautious, it feels very slow, but it feels like something that you have done successfully. And there are probably a number of, certainly thought patterns, but also possibly full-on perceptions of not just your past but yourself, who you are versus who you were versus who you want to be versus who you told yourself you were, rather than who you actually are in reality. You know, like all of these things are kind of subjective and they're up for a debate, really. But it feels like you've been engaged in some sort of exploration of all of this. And I don't know if you've necessarily enjoyed it. Probably not, because this kind of work is rarely fun. We rarely come out the other side going, banging, I am an awesome human being. We go, right, well, kind of fucked up a few places here, there and everywhere, you know. But the point of shadow work, and it does feel like there is a shadowy element to what it is that you've been doing here, is to accept all of it, warts and all, you know, accept the good and the bad and everything in between, because it is you. It is who you are. And, oh God, what did I read the other day? And I was like, I really like that. It just, no, I'm going to murder it if I even try and recall it. It was a very succinct, very concise way of saying something along the lines of, there are no mistakes, there are only, you know, opportunities for growth or opportunities for learning, that sort of thing. So going back within yourself and looking at all of these things and accepting them, going, all right, okay, that's all right. And not in a, well, I'm a piece of shit sort of way, you know, this is me, this is what I've learned. What more could I learn from those? And then seeking to kind of reframe it, because it does change the nature of the experience. And then it does, as a corollary of that, change your perception of who you are right now. And I think that that's needed to happen for a little while, Aries. I really do. So when we get into your current energy, we've got the Two of Cups here. Now, I don't leap to it being emotional relationships or, you know, romantic relationships, although it absolutely can be. It can be any relationship that you undertake on a one-to-one level. So it could be your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever. Yes, that's absolutely fine. But it could be really close friendships too. It could be, you know, could be family members. But when you boil this card down, it's about the space between two people, and then intimacy, right? And it's interesting, the cards that have come up underneath, because we've got this Knight of Cups. Again, another knight, more movement, but not your kind of movement. It's not the Knight of Wands. This is slow. These two are the slowest knights in the deck, and they're both very careful. You know, usually when we see the Knight of Cups, he's on the back of a horse and he's holding his cup outright like this. Now he's got to be very careful, because one assumes that that cup is full of something, and he's holding it in front of him. If he was cantering at speed, like you see in the Knight of Wands, or, you know, going so fast that it's actually terrifying the horse, as we see in the Knight of Swords, there's no way that whatever that cup contains is going to still be there by the time you get to your destination, right? So it is necessarily slower, more reflective, more emotional. We have it with the Three of Wands, which is the way that you are acting. It's the way that you are showing up in the world. It is the decisions that you are making and the ways that you are choosing to live in the here and now. And we have the Hierophant, fixed earth energy, quite a distance from cardinal fire, which is what you are. Like, this feels very retrograde in nature. It is about a slowing down, coming to a stop almost, and then turning around and reflecting on things. And I think that there has been an awful lot of work done by you, Aries, and I see it continuing here, because we see you looking at notions of intimacy and how you experience intimacy and how far you let people in, because I don't think it's quite as far as you thought it was. Quite likely what you've discovered, you know, between this Seven of Swords and the High Priestess and the Moon, is that actually you have some significant walls up internally, which you did not notice because they were just always there. You know, you always thought that that was just how people were, and it's like, actually it's not. So then the question is, why are the walls there? What are you trying to protect? Why are you trying to protect it? When did those get erected? It might be you don't even remember when they were erected, because you were possibly knee-high to a grasshopper when you learned that this was the way that you had to be in order to succeed in the world, you know? But there's such a softening of your energy here. It could be that you are really now understanding the value of intimacy. But this Knight of Cups is a very open-hearted, very accepting energy. There's movement here. It's going to be very difficult to get an Aries to stand still, energetically speaking, for any length of time. But it feels like you've slowed it right down, right? And you're kind of checking things on the way. Every now and again, you're actually turning around and looking at things and going, oh, right, okay, and then bringing that forwards, going, this is a useful thing to be here in my life. This Son of Cups, the Knight of Cups, is a swan, and it's facing this way. And then we have the Hierophant, which is a crow, and it is also facing him. Both looking at this Three of Wands. It feels to me like you are looking at ways to change your lived experience right now. Now, I mean, if you wanted to be really flat about it, I mean, it could be that you were just, you know, maybe changing the kind of people that you were spending time around, maybe actually changing the area that you live, or the area that you socialize, the area, you know, where the people are that you want to spend time around. You could be moving in that sort of situation. Maybe that's your Three of Wands right there. But it feels like a much broader, much more experiential shift, rather than just, I'm literally transplanting my meat sack from this state to this state because I feel like there are people who live here who are more in line with my values or stuff like that. Because that wouldn't be you changing you. That would be just you shifting your location to go and find people who are already the way that you are. And that's not what's going on here. It's much more subtle. It's you making very deliberate, very conscious, very slow shifts to change yourself into the kind of person that you want to be. I mean, that is how it is feeling to me here. And part of that is what these walls are, what they mean to you. Like I said, all of those questions that I just reeled off there. There's a huge amount of self-examination going on here, but acceptance of everything that you find too. I mean, the Hierophant talks about commitment, in amongst other things. Like I said, it's fixed earth. It's quite apart from cardinal fire. But it's about those things that you choose to commit to. It is also related to faith. You know, the faith in the fact that the changes that you are making are going to have the result of putting you in a much more comfortable place with yourself. And some of that will be you being able to rely on the fact that some of the changes that you've made already are having that effect, you know, whether you like it or not. You probably do like it, and like everything's just kind of shifting a little bit, and it's like, oh, actually this is okay, and I feel better about myself. But this intimacy under walls and the way in which you experience connection with another person, whatever their title, whatever their position in your life, it's like an intent to commit more fully to being the sort of person who can experience that intimacy on that level. You know, this is big work. It's really big work, and it's interesting that there are only 2 major arcana cards out of what we've already got down here on the table, which is 7 that I've read so far here, right? So the overwhelming majority of them being minor arcana lends some credibility to the fact that everything that is going on here is shifting by your hand, right? There's a broader lesson, there's a wider lesson going on here, and there is some oversight, I feel, in your situation, at least. But you are the one who is making the changes. You are the one who is doing all of these things, and you know, not only for your benefit, but for the benefit of the potential that comes in future, if that makes sense. Now, when we move into July, we've got the 4 of Pentacles. And on the face of it, it's not a great card. It's sometimes called the Miser card. It talks about holding on to things too tight. And we never really want to do that with anything energetic. Right? I see the Pentacles as energetic currency. So, you know, anything that you are capable of investing, whether it is money or care or time or love or, you know, energy full stop into something, then becomes a pentacle. And in July, I think that you get a sense of what it is that you are holding on to. I think you get a sense of what it is that has created those walls and blocked intimacy for you. Like the truest, fullest experience of intimacy that it is possible for you to have are blocked by these walls. Here, we've got an indication that you see what it is now. Because we have underneath here, first off, we have the Fool. So we have you showing up in all of your glory here, Aries. And I like that because it's a very honest presentation of your energy appearing in the cards. But not only is it you, it is trust. And trust is something that you've not had a lot of in the past, Aries. Not a great deal. It's also the willingness to take the leap off the branch. You know, the Fool is the beginning of a new cycle. And what you're going through here at the moment has all the hallmarks of the end of a cycle. You know, I don't think that you're at the beginning of the end, because I think that that's already been and gone. I think that you're very much in the thrall of kind of sifting through all of the lessons and looking for a way to apply it to you, so that you can be happy, so that you can be content, you know, so that you can address all of these things that are blocking you from, like I said, living the full experience of what it is to be you. But we've got a shift going on here because, like I said, the Fool is trust, but it is also liberation. It is freedom. It is that thing that you crave desperately. And what we could have going on here is an understanding that those walls that you put up to keep yourself safe at some point in the past are now the things that are actively blocking your sense of freedom, right? Your sense of truly being able to experience everything around you. And in the month of July, I would love to be able to report that it's all sunshine and rainbows. And you know, it might be in some places, because every little tweak that you do here, every inch deeper that you dig on yourself, and the insights that you get about yourself, like I said, they help change, reframe, refocus your perspective and your perceptions about what it is to be Aries alive in July 2021, you know. We've got the Eight of Pentacles and the Seven of Pentacles. We have you really, really working to identify what is suboptimal in your life. You know, the things that you have in front of you, and are they what you want? You know, all of the things that you've put lots and lots of effort into, is it worth carrying on with those, right? Or are you labouring under a misapprehension now? Are you working towards a goal that doesn't belong to you anymore because the person that set that goal no longer exists within your meat sack, you know, because you have changed, because you have got wiser? The Seven of Pentacles indicates a situation that you, like I said, you're not happy with. There's something about it that's a little bit off. And the entire thrust of the card so far suggests to me that it is not a situation that is outside of you. It is, in fact, the way that you are seeing it. It is the way that you are relating to it. It is the way that it makes you feel inside. This is where you are looking. It feels very subdued, quite a lot of this. Which is very different to your energy, but it feels very worth it too, because come the other side of this, there you are, right, as the Fool. You're demonstrating the results of what this lesson is teaching you here, which is the freedom to let things go when they don't serve you anymore. The freedom to recognize these things within yourself and not go, well, I'm just going to, you know, always on to the next goal, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. No, it's just kind of like, oh, hang on. Why am I running in that direction? I've got some stuff, you know, some unresolved stuff that needs to be worked out here. But you feel very focused on it. It doesn't feel like there's much that's distracting you here. I mean, often the kind of stereotype of Aries is he's starting with a bang and ending with a fizzle. You're very good at starting things, very good at initiating things. That's what Aries does. But ultimately, the rest of it kind of gets left, you know, for someone else. Well, that may or may not be true with you. You know, always got to be careful about adhering too closely to these stereotypes, because they don't fit everyone. It's not one size fits all kind of characterization. However, this feels very deep. And Aries, you feel a bit lonely to me. The energy feels a little bit lonely, and this feels like it's why the intimacy thing particularly is something that you're working on. Now, you might be surrounded by people, but we all know it's possible to feel lonely in a crowd of 80,000 people, you know. But it's also quite possible to feel entirely content on your own. You feel lonely to me, and I think that you've realised it's not about the people that are around you, it's about the way that you are relating to them. It is about the way that you trust or don't trust. And it looks like for the month of July, you've got your head down. You are sifting out all of these things. Sifting through the Seven of Pentacles. What is worth my time, my care, my effort, all of that. What is not, right? Where do I need to pull this bush up and start again, because it is not giving me the yield that I, you know, that I want. Like, it's not commensurate with the amount of investment that I've put in. Maybe it's time to let this go. Maybe it's time to move on. Maybe it's time to examine why I'm attached to this in the first place. But I really, really like that you end with this card here, Aries, because this is your sister fire sign, right? You're Sagittarius. It's about balance. Excuse me. It's about alignment. It is also about healing. It's about healing off the back of adverse circumstances, challenging circumstances, and where you have been for the last wee while has been challenging for you. Now, July is challenging again in some ways, but it's a natural follow-on from the work that you have been doing thus far. And it feels to me like it's potentially the month where you're going to see the most change outside of you, because there's the biggest shift inside. It changes the way that you look at everything, and it is bringing a lot of healing to you. Like I said, this feels very subdued, not in a miserable way, just in a really thoughtful, internally contemplative kind of way. I wish it was a sexier message that I could bring to you, Aries, but I can only deal with what I've got here on the table. And I think that there's a true value in what you're doing at the moment. I think that it's going to make you much, much happier on the other side. So this is what I have for you. I'm going to go over to Vimeo now and kind of pull this apart a little bit and see what's going on, specifically with July, because we all like to have some, you know, some kind of signposts every now and again to show us that we're going in the right direction. So if this has resonated, do feel free to come join me over there. The link is in the description box underneath this video. If not to worry, I shall see you on Monday. See you on Monday for the weeklies. Alright, know that I love you all very, very much. I'll see you soon.